The mantra that I've been sitting with today says, I am letting go of who I am to embrace who I know myself to be. I am letting go of who I am to embrace who I know myself to be. And this mantra came to me during community meditation this morning, which was led by a soul called Joel. And as I've been sitting with this mantra, Spirit has been talking to me about what that means, right? And I am letting go of who I am means that I am letting go of who I thought I needed to be in order to please other people. I am letting go of who I thought I needed to be in order to satisfy someone else's definitions and expectations, right? So as I am in this space of letting go of the external systems, letting go of my attachment to the external systems, living my life in a way that is not truly authentic to the will of my soul, right? Putting myself in spaces and positions in different scenarios that don't really align with the will of my heart and soul. As I'm in the process of stepping away from that, Spirit is showing me that a part of the reason why, I don't want to say why it took me so long, but a part of the reason why it took me so long to kind of come into this space is because of the mental projections that I was holding on to, right? And Spirit showed me that I was holding on to these mental projections as a defense mechanism. And what I was doing is I was using the mental projections as a way to protect myself, not against what could possibly happen in the future, but against what I had experienced in the past. So why would I please other people? Why would I satisfy someone else's definitions and expectations, right? And it was really just because I didn't want to disappoint anyone. I didn't want to feel as if other people misunderstood me, right? And so what would happen is that I would allow the mental projections to stop me from moving forward and doing what I truly wanted to do and following the will of my heart and soul as a way to keep that from happening, as a way to avoid the disappointment, as a way to avoid the questions and the being misunderstood, right? But this is where self-sabotage has a tendency to enter the room. When we allow the mental projections to stop us from moving forward, we can face certain opportunities, we can face certain doors that Spirit may be calling us to walk through, and then we kind of hesitate, right? We avoid walking through the door. Why? Because we're afraid, or because we're trying to control the outcome, right? We're trying to control the outcome. We're trying to control how, if I walk through this door, how are the people around me going to respond? If I go down this path, how are the people around me going to respond? And then what we do is we create these narratives in our minds, right? We create these narratives in our minds. We tell ourselves this is what's going to happen. We mull over those narratives, and then our mind convinces us that those narratives are real and true. And so then we don't act, we don't move. Instead, we freeze, right? And we live in fear of not, and then we live in fear. And what we are fearing is not reality, but what we're fearing is that mental projection, that mental narrative that we've created. So for me, I really had to start asking myself, what is my inner being projecting, right? If I'm afraid of disappointing other people or being misunderstood, what is my inner being projecting? And I had to start living from that space. So some of the things that as I could ask that question and would connect with that question, my Spirit is showing me that my inner being is projecting consistency and devotion to the will of my heart and soul, right? Consistency meaning consistently showing up, consistently walking through the doors that God is calling me to walk through, regardless of what other people might think, regardless of how other people might feel, regardless of whether or not someone is disappointed or misunderstands me, right? I also realized in sitting with this question that my inner being is projecting trust and a state of relaxation. Okay. And so in projecting trust, my inner being knows that whenever I walk through those doors that I'm being called to walk through, that the people who are meant to support me, the people who are meant to encourage me, the people that I am meant to support and encourage will meet me wherever it is that I'm going, right? They will meet me wherever it is that God is calling me to go. And we will be able to support and encourage each other in the process of walking along the paths that we've been called to walk through or walk on, right? And then my inner being is projecting a state of relaxation, meaning that I'm not allowing the mental projections to cause me to worry or live in fear of whether or not people will support me or be disappointed or misunderstand me, right? Instead, I'm chilling. Instead, my inner being is just relaxed. Instead, my inner being is just knowing again that there will be people who will support me as I move along this journey. So if you have a tendency to struggle with self-sabotage, or if you have a tendency to project, and you allow these mental projections to cause you to stress out, or you allow these mental projections to cause you to become anxious or worked up or just living in fear, then I want to invite you to sit with the question, what is my inner being projecting? What is my inner being projecting? Because then this will help you to, first of all, identify the ways in which you're trying to control the outcomes, the way in which you're trying to control the future, right? And it's in trying to control the outcome, it's in trying to control the future that causes us to freeze, that causes us to self-sabotage, that causes us to say, you know what, I see that this door is open and it feels good. The thought of walking through that door feels good, but I don't think I'm going to, because A, B, and C might happen if I do, right? And so when you sit with this question, what is my inner being projecting, you give yourself the opportunity to lean into your authenticity. You give yourself the opportunity to feel into what is true and authentic to you. So then you can walk through the doors with confidence, so that you can then show up consistently. So then you end up becoming more relaxed, right? Because now your mind is no longer in control, but you're allowing the essence of who you are to be in control. You're allowing the essence of who you are to guide you. You're allowing the essence of who you are, your inner being, to lead you as you continue walking along this path, right? And then on the other side of that, if you don't quite know what exactly it is that your mind is projecting, you can sit with the question, what is my mind projecting? What is my mind projecting that is causing me to hesitate walking through these doors? What is my mind projecting that is causing me to hesitate moving forward in living out the calling that God has called me to live? What is my mind projecting that has caused me to struggle with self-sabotage? So those are a couple of questions that you can sit with in order to really begin to move forward with living a life that is truly authentic to the will of your heart and soul. So again, that mantra that I've been sitting with, that I want to invite you to sit with as well, says, I am letting go of who I am to embrace who I know myself to be. I am letting go of who I am to embrace who I know myself to be. I love you.